Tonight, fears a predator is targeting girls in Adelaide South. One says she was indecently assaulted at a major interchange. The state's junior basketball community warned over a woman charged with child sexual assault. Passengers on board as the trains reconnected to the port. Two bears in there ready to take up residency at Adelaide Zoo. Will this pair finally be panda parents? And spurned crow Josh Rochelle tackles the demotion blues getting to work in the sandful.
This is Adelaide's 9 News with Will McDonald.
Good evening. Two girls have told of the terrifying moments they were stalked and one indecently assaulted by an unknown man in Adelaide South. The incidents were separate but are feared to involve the same person. Police tonight releasing a description in the hope he can be found.
On a busy Christie-Downs street in broad daylight, a young girl was frightened, followed by a man unknown to her.
I just feel scared for the girls and I'm a bit frightened, to come around here myself with that sort of thing going on.
The girl claims it happened twice on Wednesday and Thursday afternoons on Moreton Road, a street with a high school, children's playground and a skate park.
You want to be able to feel safe in the community and particularly around an area like this where families are encouraged to come.
The man didn't approach the girl, but a separate alleged incident at the Noarlunga interchange was much worse. Another girl claims she was approached by a man while she was sitting waiting for the bus. She says he spoke to her briefly, then she was indecently assaulted. Both girls describing the man they saw as in his late 50s or 60s, 188 centimetres tall, with grey hair, a large nose with a piercing and a scruffy beard.
Young girls or even people can't be safe in waiting for a bus to go home, to go anywhere in public. I don't know, that's just disgusting.
Pretty scary actually, yeah. It doesn't really make you feel very safe, especially as if you're just by yourself as well, just catching the bus, you don't expect to just be assaulted on the spot like that. Anyone
with information is urged to contact police. Inga Nielsen, 9 News.
New details have emerged about a northern suburbs woman arrested for child sex crimes. Tonight we can exclusively reveal she worked as a coach for a sporting club. Shannon McDonald, she's now been the subject of 2 alerts to parents.
Well, the CEO of Basketball SA has notified its members about the former coach who is now charged with the sexual exploitation of a child. The letter was sent to families late yesterday to assure them there is no information the historical sexual offences occurred against anyone associated with Basketball SA. However, the police investigation is ongoing. It also says the accused woman has now been banned from being at any sporting facility where children frequently attend. But 9 News can confirm the 36-year-old woman also previously worked as a school staffer across the 2 campuses of Xavier College, north of Adelaide. A similar letter was sent to that school community less than 2 weeks ago, again reassuring that the offending did not relate to students at the school. The multiple child sex crimes are said to date back to the period between 2009 and 2011. The woman is out on bail and due to face court in October. Will?
Shannon McDonald, thank you. Commuters will be able to take the train into the heart of Port Adelaide from tomorrow. The new Port Dock station opening today, 1 kilometre of old track rebuilt, branching off the outer harbour line for the first time in 4 decades.
This is a victory of people. This is a victory of an area that needs rejuvenation, that's going to have a regular rail service come back to the heart of Port Adelaide.
And another group of commuters has been given a win too. New bus services to commence between the hills and the city from tomorrow. Tonight we're being introduced to the new panda pair who will take up residency at Adelaide Zoo at the end of this year. It is bittersweet for keepers as Wong Wong and Fu Ni head home, but it brings new hope for the breeding program that up until now has been far from black and white.
For 15 years, they've made a splash without even trying. Today, Wong Wong and Fu Ni put on a show on a special day.
Their birthday.
Soaking it all up before they return to China.
Get gets to go in a spa and it gets to have cake and all these people get to come and it gets to be filmed on news on its birthday.
The Bears on Loan were brought to Adelaide in 2009 to breed, a program notoriously unsuccessful. The baton now passed to a new panda pair, 3-year-olds Xing Chul and Yi Lun, on their way to SA. He's described as handsome, she's described as beautiful, and together they've been picked for the program based on genetics and compatibility.
This agreement will return to the $1 million a year, and the state government and the Commonwealth governments are in discussion about how that is funded.
They'll arrive by the end of this year, which is when Wong Wong and Fu Ni will go home.
Although the partnership has failed to produce the pitter-patter of baby panda paws, it hasn't failed at drawing a crowd or aiding in important research and conservation efforts.
There are more pandas in the wild now than 15 years ago, but the number still only sits just above 1,400.
The giant panda, it's still listed as vulnerable, and the next 15 years is going to be just as important as the previous 15 years.
Xing Chul and Yi Lun won't quite be breeding age yet when they arrive, but some eager fans are awaiting them.
They're going to be cute and cool, and I think they would have a very good bath too.
Will De Fulvio, 9 News.
Well, Vincent Tazia's elevation to the job of state opposition leader is complete, today addressing a gathering of his party to outline what he believes will be the formula for an unlikely election win. But first, he made a demand for unity.
A new dawn for the South Australian Liberal Party.
I'm going to give this job 110%.
A new leader hungry for change.
I made it very clear that the Liberal Party is here for one thing, and that is to win elections.
Just 12 days into the job, Vincent Tazia stepped onto the stage at his party's annual conference, calling for unity.
We need to work together. The only way we are going to beat this formidable Labor Party here in South Australia is if we work together as a team.
Announcing the two key platforms he thinks he can win on: the cost of living.
We know here in South Australia that people are finding it hard to make ends meet at the moment, and that's why I've appointed Heidi Girolamo as a dedicated shadow minister for cost of living.
And health.
We are going to use that as a battering ram to destroy the credibility of Peter Malinauskas and the Labor Party.
I think tough talk is cheap, to be honest. I note the word he used the most was unite, because his party is bitterly divided.
The opposition leader also spoke of the importance of his party winning key South Australian seats in the looming federal election to help his chances in 2026. A tough front from both sides of politics, with an even tougher battle ahead.
We always take our political opponents seriously. We always take our opponents seriously. We never take anything for granted.
We continue to present a united front that the best days for the party are ahead of us.
Ollie Haig, 9 News.
A driver had to be rescued from his rolled car at O'Halloran Hill. He was trapped for half an hour after accidentally side-swiping a trailer when coming over the hill. It happened on Lander Road just after 4 this afternoon. The driver's injuries are fortunately not too serious. Police are investigating a fire at Nailsworth. A tree in a resident's backyard bursting into flames just before 1 this morning. A rubbish bin and part of a gutter also damaged before firefighters managed to put out the blaze.
It's very unusual. Like in the late night, if you suddenly see this, it's like very stressful.
Police want to hear from anyone who saw suspicious activity in Harvey Street around that time. 3 people have been killed and at least 4 others injured after a stabbing rampage at a festival in Germany. A large-scale manhunt is now underway, with police believing it was a targeted attack.
A festival, now a crime scene, as emergency services fight to save the lives of the injured. Witnesses telling police that a man with a knife targeted people in the crowd. The attack unfolding in Solingen, near Dusseldorf, in Germany's west, around 10 p.m. Celebrations have been underway to mark the 650th anniversary of the city. The festival's organiser taking to a stage to alert thousands to the danger. We don't want panic here. Please don't run, he says. With the attacker still at large, heavily armed police moved in. Around 40 specialist vehicles surrounding the area, a helicopter searching from the sky. We have no information about a motive, this police spokesperson says. The area's Interior Minister revealing it's being treated as a planned attack. The local mayor paying tribute to those who lost their lives, posting on social media, "This evening we are all in Solingen in shock, horror and great sadness." The German government has been trying to toughen the country's rules around carrying knives in public. As the major manhunt continues tonight for the person behind this attack. Brett McLeod, 9 News.
The race to the White House has been a fast-evolving sprint with a huge month in politics taking yet another twist. Independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. suspending his campaign and backing Donald Trump. It is a move that has shifted dynamics once again.
An extraordinary time in American politics, and tonight another twist in the race to the White House. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. side by side with Donald Trump. Hours earlier, the Independent suspended his presidential bid in favour of backing the former president.
I've made the heart-wrenching decision to suspend my campaign and to support President Trump.
74 days from now, can you imagine 74 days? Then we gently move into that beautiful White House and we take over our country.
Trump vowing to establish a commission on presidential assassination attempts in honour of RFK Jr., whose father Bobby Kennedy and uncle John F. Kennedy were both shot dead.
And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
The former president's campaign hopeful to secure Kennedy's voting pool. A New York Times poll shows the Independent holds 4% of the national polling average. Single-digit numbers, but in battleground states with razor-thin margins, those could be the votes which decide the presidential election.
That by staying on the ballot in the battleground states, I would likely hand the election over to the Democrats.
He stands at odds with the Kennedy family. Our brother Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. It is a sad ending to a sad story. With convention celebrations on both sides over, the sprint to November's election now begins. In the United States, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
Members of the scandal-ridden CFMEU will take to the streets from Tuesday to protest against the federal government's forced takeover of the union's construction division. And the building industry is sounding the alarm, claiming disruptions could delay construction projects and push up prices.
The CFMEU is threatening more of this. Protests already planned in Queensland, WA and the ACT, with more to come, all sparked by Labor forcing the union's construction arm into administration, following allegations of corruption, intimidation and links to criminal gangs. But today, the industry raising concerns that any unrest could blow out building schedules and prices.
We will see costs escalate for builders. We do not need to see that happen in the current environment where we're building more homes and more hospitals and more schools.
Former CFMEU officials who were terminated yesterday, they can do whatever they want. They have no role anymore.
Builders now also seeking legal advice to wind back former deals signed with the union.
The union will tell the builder which subcontractor they should engage on a building site. It's about the restrictive clauses that means I cannot run my business.
In a letter to union members, the new administrator says he has zero tolerance for crime and corruption, but adds that while administration comes and goes, the work of the union must endure. The union's national secretary has kept his job and is vowing to keep fighting.
They make laws to attack us, but they can't take away our rights as union members. The CFMEU is here to stay.
Amanda Kopp, 9 News.
The polls have now closed in the Northern Territory, voters deciding whether to elect current Chief Minister Eva Lawler, return Labor for a third term or send the party to opposition. The tight race between Labor and the Country Liberal Party has been fought on two big issues in the top end, the surging rate of crime and cost of living. Counting is just about to begin, or it's probably underway now. But Speckles, the crocodile, who correctly picked Anthony Albanese's election win, has made his selection, and it is Labor. All right, time for a look ahead to sport with Corey Norris. Corey, the Josh Rochelli show, it rolls on.
It does, Will. He was sent back to the Sandful and suited up at Unley Oval this afternoon while the Crows were in Sydney ahead of tonight's season closer. How did the youngster take his demotion? We'll hear from the club's footy boss a little later. Also, the Cats lock in a top 4 spot with Jeremy Cameron at his best in a demolition of West Coast. And could this young man be our very own Usain Bolt? We'll tell you about his stunning run a little later in sport.
Look, amazing, Corey. Thank you. More travel chaos on the horizon at Adelaide Airport. Uber drivers warning of another protest that's on the way. Find out when it's happening next. Now, the humble dung beetle is helping Adelaide researchers improve navigation systems. And Chelsea Carey has the details on a record winter temperature for South Australia. Travellers through Adelaide Airport on Monday are being warned of a second strike by Uber drivers. The rideshare operator made a significant cut to fares earlier this month in a bid to increase demand, but drivers say it is not sustainable.
We are paying our cars radio, insurance, all maintenance, petrol prices and everything is increasing day by day, and no one cares about the rideshare drivers.
Rideshare drivers will boycott the airport from 7 in the morning until 8 at night. A gang of armed offenders is on the run after killing a 28-year-old man in a park in Melbourne's west. Police believe the attackers quickly ran off, with the victim's distraught family rushing to the murder scene.
Raw, heartbreaking grief. It's hard to watch, even harder to hear. Their loved one, Kiom Atum, stabbed to death at Balmoral Park in Derrimut, just metres from his home.
I don't feel safe leaving the home because it's right across the way from my home. I'm just really scared.
The 28-year-old was last seen around 9 last night with 4 mates. Then at around 4:20 this morning, someone who was at the park at the time called police telling them that he had been killed.
Attempts were made to resuscitate that male, but unfortunately he passed away.
What should have been a morning for local sport turned into a crime scene that spanned the width of the Oval.
We believe there may have been multiple, or a number of people here that were seen to sort of disperse and run off.
SES crews were called in to conduct line searches, finding several knives scattered throughout the park.
There is nothing to suggest that it's gang related. It appears our victim does not have any links to any gangs.
Blood splatters were discovered in the front yard of a family home, and a red sedan that was left at the football club was searched by forensic officers. A number of residents who live near the park say it's often the centre of antisocial activity. Quite frankly, they're fed up and terrified of the constant violence happening on their doorsteps.
Really scary, really close to home.
People are becoming a bit more aggressive.
It was only a year ago that a 14-year-old boy was stabbed at this very same park in a Halloween attack. He was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, now back home with his family, while another tries to process this morning's tragedy. Amber Johnston, 9 News.
A man has been tasered during an arrest in Brisbane. Police say they tried to pull the man over for suspicious driving when he reversed into their vehicle, injuring 2 officers. The man was tasered and taken into custody while the officers were taken to hospital with minor injuries. The shocking moment a car careered off an overpass in Sydney has been caught on dash cam. The driver lost control when entering the on-ramp, plummeting 12 metres earlier this month. He was not seriously injured. Well, it is hard to believe that the humble dung beetle is inspiring researchers to improve navigation systems in drones and robots. The insect is the first known species to use the Milky Way to find its way at night. University of South Australia experiments have now developed a computer vision system that accurately measures the orientation of this local galaxy in low light. You couldn't make it up. All right, today's stunning weather has been short-lived. There's the risk of severe thunderstorms in Adelaide tomorrow. Chelsea Carey, dangerous winds are a concern too.
Yes, well, tomorrow is...
storms across Adelaide and the southern half of the state, possibly severe with gusty winds. Now, we are seeing some extraordinary weather across the state at the moment. Yesterday, Oodnadatta set a record for the hottest winter temperature ever recorded in South Australia with 38.5 degrees. Today, the town set a new record, hitting 39.4. So very hot up there. And tomorrow it's the winds and storms we have to watch for. And I'll have the full details a little later.
All right, Chelsea, no worries at all. We'll see you very soon. And hopefully all the audio will be completely fixed when Chelsea comes back a bit later on. More twists in the mystery of the super yacht sinking. Next, Italian authorities consider launching a manslaughter investigation as the final body is retrieved from that wreckage. How artificial intelligence is helping doctors reduce patient wait times. And a heartwarming moment, a heart attack survivor meets the patrolling pair who saved his life.
9 News, brought to you by Tucson Hybrid by Hyundai. Ever driven a better car than yours? Now you can.
Divers have recovered the final missing body from the luxury super yacht that has sunk off Sicily. It's believed to be the 18-year-old daughter of British tech tycoon Mike Lynch, who also died when the vessel went down in a storm earlier this week. 7 people were killed in that freak event, with 15 of those on board surviving. 4 Russian prison guards have been killed after being taken hostage by 4 inmates who have declared allegiance to Islamic State. The country's National Guard says its snipers have now neutralised the prisoners. In one of the most symbolic events to happen in Kyiv since Russia's invasion began, Indian President Narendra Modi has met with Volodymyr Zelensky. The leaders discussing a peace plan for Ukraine and signing several cooperation documents. India has avoided condemning the Kremlin's invasion, but President Modi says he told Putin this is not a time for war. Specialists across Australia are adopting artificial intelligence to help them focus more on their patients instead of paperwork. The innovators say it will free up more doctors to help tackle long waiting lists.
Trying to see a specialist in the public system can take months, even years. It's a struggle Joel Freiberg knows only too well, managing his Crohn's disease, but also seeing the other side, his dad swamped by paperwork.
So my dad is a respiratory specialist in Sydney, and I grew up watching him sit around the dinner table from 7 p.m. after working 12-hour days, dictating reports.
So Joel created new technology to improve the way specialists work. In the consult room is a virtual assistant. The AI software listens, converting only relevant parts of the conversation into medical notes, and within seconds, a letter is prepared for the patient's GP.
It's just made it so much more efficient. It's given me more time in my day.
For Sydney breast cancer surgeon Dr. Susanna Graham, it saves her an hour or more each day compared to taking notes, dictating and typing.
It can take a month for a letter to go back to a GP, and when you're talking about something like breast cancer, it's really vital that GPs are kept well informed.
The AI technology is one of several platforms doctors are now turning to boost workflow and patient care. As for privacy,
Previously, having started a health insurance startup where we were dealing with the same sensitive data, you go through the same steps to secure your platform.
Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
A footy fan who almost died from cardiac arrest has been reunited with the hero officers who helped save his life. They performed CPR, one of them drawing on his high-pressure experience as a V8 supercars driver.
Reunited with the heroes who saved his life.
You were pretty much lying here.
A moment cardiac arrest survivor Brendan Hyatt thought would never happen.
I mean, it's just good to meet him and say thank you.
The 49-year-old was waiting to board a train to the footy with his mates when things took a dangerous turn.
I just collapsed. I hit metal pole, I think the railing, and, to the platform.
On patrol, 2 protective services officers who jumped into action.
We were checking him to see if there's like a pulse, and after a little bit, I couldn't find a pulse. So then I've just said to Cam to start CPR.
To make Brendan's luck even more extraordinary, one of the PSOs was former V8 supercars driver Cameron McConville, whose quick instincts kicked into gear.
Funny how when the pressure's on, you revert back to that kind of racing, if that makes sense. When you're under pressure, you just need to keep a calm head and follow what your muscle memory or your training is.
He'd only been wearing the uniform for 7 months.
Did you ever think you'd be saving lives when you were back then racing cars?
Definitely not, definitely not. No, you could probably say I was risking my life a couple of times.
Paramedics arrived shortly after and took Brendan to hospital in a critical condition. Brendan is very lucky because only 1 in 10 Australians survive a cardiac arrest outside of hospital. Remarkably, he's now back on his feet, able to thank the first responders who helped him.
As grateful as anyone can be, I think. I mean, like I said, to me, to stand, to talk, to move.
Oh, it's amazing. Like, to know that I had a little part in his survival, it's just amazing.
Chesternan, 9 News.
5 residents at an aged care home in Perth are celebrating turning 100 years old. The milestone marked today with a 1920s themed party, taking residents back to the decade they were born. The centenarians living through things such as World War II, the moon landing and the dawn of the internet.
Tell us, what's your secret to a long life?
No smoking and no drinking.
The residents have a combined age of 506 years old. Well, the countdown to the Paralympics is on. Next, meet Adelaide's promising rowing duo, making waves as they go for gold. Double trouble, Florida residents in a spin as twin water spouts are spotted off the coast. And doorbell cam captures the moment a trampoline is sent flying into a 2-storey home. Well, hikers, clearly in a severe state of panic, have been filmed scrambling down an Indonesian volcano that had just erupted right in front of them. Ash was sent more than 2,000 metres into the air, the huge cloud rolling in the direction of the group. Everyone was able to make it down safely. This huge explosion on a Greek-flagged oil tanker has left the vessel adrift in the Red Sea. Yemen's Houthi rebels claiming responsibility for the attack that caused a fire to break out on board. The US Federal Reserve has indicated it's prepared to start cutting its key interest rate from the current 23-year high. Chair Jerome Powell unable to say how large the cuts might be.
The time has come for policy to adjust. The direction of travel is clear, and the timing and pace of rate cuts will depend on incoming data.
The Federal Reserve believes inflation in the US is largely under control. The old Melbourne jail is famous for hosting some of Australia's most notorious inmates, but now it's home to a very different type of clientele. Cold, dark and imposing, its blue stone walls provide the perfect climate for ageing whiskey.
For almost a century, if you were arrested in Melbourne, you came here to the City Watch House. If these walls could talk, they'd tell you about Ned Kelly and Squizzy Taylor.
Talk to you later, Taylor.
The cells are still packed, but not with prisoners.
Right now we've got around 12 barrels of whiskey, probably around 1,200 litres aging. With the thick walls, it really creates a great temperature for aging whiskey. There's no real great temperature fluctuations.
Cell 13, the perfect place to store the whiskey, Little Lon Distilling Co. began brewing during the city's COVID lockdowns.
Whiskey takes two years minimum in Australia to age, and we had a small cottage, so we had nowhere to store these barrels.
It's very secure, not too many people actually wanting to break into old Melbourne jail.
They keep the tour groups out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
During the gold rush, the whiskey industry boomed, but come the 1980s, no whiskey was being produced in Australia. After a push to change legislation in the 90s, the industry is striking gold once again.
Whiskey was one of the biggest distilling industries back in the late 1800s, all around Victoria. And with the introduction of distilling again in small batch distilleries, passionate people about making product from Australian ingredients, it's had a resurgence.
Before the whiskey's locked away, it's distilled here off Little Lonsdale Street in the only remaining brick cottage of what was 6 terrace houses, serving as sly grog shops in the middle of Melbourne's red light district.
It wasn't being used, and we pitched the concept of opening up Melbourne's first legal CBD distillery.
Producing gin and now whiskey, they hope the next step will be walking tours.
There's so much history here that Melburnians don't know about, and if we can play our part and share those stories and give people a little celebratory drink.
Penelope Leash, 9 News.
Victoria's Werribee Open Range Zoo has welcomed a precious new addition with the birth of a male southern white rhino calf. Keepers say Mum and Bub, who already weighs 60 kilos, are going from strength to strength. Staff relieved after Mum, Kipenzi, lost her first calf last year within days of its birth.
Already has got such an attitude. He's already kind of like, snorting and stomping and trying to, so yeah, he's going to be a real handful later on.
And the traditional competition is now underway among zoo members to come up with a name for the newborn. The surreal sight in the US state of Florida as two waterspouts swirled off the coast of Palm Beach. They proved to be quite the spectacle, dancing side by side over the Atlantic Ocean before a third spout began to form nearby. The phenomenon occurring after record rain fell in the area. Strong winds have sent a trampoline flying through the sky, landing in a suburban street in the American state of Alabama. It bounces off a roof before falling into a front yard, upright and still intact, mostly. We're now just days from the opening of the Paralympics, and one of Australia's strongest chances for gold is in the rowing. The Adelaide pair in the mixed double sculls blitzed the field in last year's World Championships. The aim now to repeat the heroics in Paris.
By his own admission, Jed Altschwager was the antithesis of a finely tuned athlete.
I kind of played in a band, drank beers and surfed. I was kind of, outdoorsy kind of sort of average kind of bloke, I guess.
But when he lost his left leg in a workplace accident 9 years ago, his body and outlook changed.
What I've gone through has created so much growth in my life and so much perspective and gratitude and all that sort of stuff. And that was the point when it became quite obvious that the direction I wanted to go was into parasport and representing Australia.
He took to rowing like a duck to water. And when a new mixed event was announced for Paris, Jed called his kindred spirit in Nikki Ayres, who packed up her life's possessions and drove from Canberra.
I made the sacrifice to leave my friends, my family, my career behind and do this, and I don't regret it, and it was the best thing I could have done. And as a result, Jed and I's friendship has gotten stronger, our boat's gotten faster, and now we're ready to go for the Paris Paralympics.
The nurse had endured her own trauma transformation.
Rugby union was my passion, it was my life, and I made 2 Wallaroo camps, and in 2016 I decided that was going to be my year to finally get given that green and gold Wallaroo jersey.
But then a brutal tackle destroyed 3 ligaments, the main artery and main nerve in her leg. 16 surgeries in 9 months, told she would never walk again.
I thought I'd lost my identity as an athlete, as a rugby player, but I got that back in a new sport, and being in an amazing community of parasports as well, I felt like I belonged again.
With perfect synchronicity, Jed and Nikki left the rest of the world in their wake in last year's World Championships.
And it will be Australia with the gold in the PR3 mixed double sculls.
To be able to sort of do that the year before the big dance was amazing.
The dynamic duo devoting 30 hours a week to their quest for Paralympic gold. Their families the driving force.
Win, lose or draw, it's just representing them well and yeah, having a crack, I guess.
When we're at the start line for that A final, that we know that everything we do, we've done everything that we can, and we're going to cross that line first.
Vicky Schwartz, 9 News.
Looking forward to seeing that gold medal, Corey Norris.
Absolutely.
All right, more sport coming up in just a moment. The Crows, they're hoping to end that disappointing year on a high.
Yeah, that'll be the aim in Sydney tonight, Will, when they meet the top of the table. Swans will have the latest on that clash next, as all eyes were on youngster Josh Rochelle at Unley today, and he held his head pretty high. Also, there was a lot to love about the Cats as they hit their straps ahead of September. And Adam Scott takes charge in Colorado, a course record, no less. Hello again. The Crows are determined to put a tumultuous week behind them and close out their season with a win when they take on the Swans in Sydney tonight. Controversially dumped youngster Josh Rochelle took his demotion in his stride with an impressive showing in the Sandful.
As the Crows prepared for their season finale in Sydney, the Josh Rochelle show rolled on in Unley. More than 4,000 turning out with varying levels of support.
Free kick, barreled into the ground.
The 21-year-old taking his controversial axing on the chin, finishing with 17 disposals and 6 clearances against Sturt.
Great example of the type of character that he is.
And we were just really pleased that he took that attitude into the game and had a strong performance.
The club defending its handling of the situation after Matthew Nicks at first stood by Rochelli's teeth barb before dropping him a day later, earning the ire of many Adelaide supporters.
We stand by our decisions, and we've explained why those decisions were made. We also understand that Josh is a much loved and spoken about player, but we've explained ourselves and we move on.
Kelly declined to elaborate on the reason defender Mark Keane has returned to Ireland before season's end, but has welcomed Taylor Walker's return from an eye injury for the clash with the Swans. The Crows determined to salvage something from a season that has so far delivered little.
I guess the measure of our contest and competitiveness will be obvious for all to see, so we want to give ourselves a chance, and really starts with our ability to win the footy, so we'd want to see a really strong contested game tonight.
Vicky Schwartz, 9 News.
Well, Port Adelaide has arrived in Perth eyeing a win to secure a top 2 spot. The Power took 3 travelling emergencies, Vicentini, Lord and Sin, for the clash with Fremantle in what will mark Ollie Wines' 250th game. Finishing second would not only hand the Power the double chance, but secure 2 home finals. By the time the game starts tomorrow afternoon, the Dockers will already know if their finals hopes remain alive. Well, Hawthorn will enter its first final series in 6 years in blistering form, locking in a September spot with a 124-point thumping of North Melbourne in Launceston. It's the Hawks' biggest ever win over the Roos and their biggest win of the season.
It was already party time, but the final result took things up a notch.
And every other club fears what's ahead.
Sam Mitchell and Jack Gunston looked emotional as they hugged on the siren as the younger Hawks got ready for their first taste of September.
Just what might they achieve and how would they celebrate?
Those first-timers shrugged off a tight first quarter.
An early one for the Wiz, and he is going to celebrate hard.
And had completely blown away the Roos by the second term.
He has done that comfortably. What a weapon is the skipper.
Booting 8 goals in the quarter.
One eye open was all he needed.
They led by 55 points at half-time.
Couldn't miss from there. Doesn't. There's no joy in the North coach's box. But his old team, Hawthorn, they're just so many weapons.
The wet conditions ruined some of the usual flair.
There's not much better and more exciting sights in footy than Weddle. He's had 2.
But there was no stopping Hawthorn.
It's not easy unless you're Connor McDonald.
The last quarter was heaven for Hawks fans. 10 goals to 1 as all the regulars warmed up for September.
You can't leave him. You just can't. Watson. Elementary.
For the first time since 2018, the Hawks are finals bound.
How big are you prepared to dream this September, Hawthorn?
Now it's just a matter of who they'll face in week 1.
I think we'll be playing an MCG final, so to the 80+ thousand Hawthorn members, we're going to get an MCG home ground final, really.
Nathan Carey, 9 News.
A Jeremy Cameron masterclass secured Geelong a top 4 finish and the all-important double chance. The star forward bagged a career-best 9 goals, including 7 with his first 7 kicks of the game in the Cats' demolition of West Coast.
The last game of the regular season served as a training run for Jeremy Cameron.
7 straight, 7 kicks, 7 goals for Jeremy Cameron.
The star cat purred to life, kicking 9 goals against West Coast.
He's got 9, equalled his career best, and I'm not sure he's done yet.
It's all about playing your best footy at the right time of year, so it's good to build on what we've already done.
With a top 4 spot on the line, Geelong left nothing to chance.
Too easy. He's too good. Just too good, the Cats.
Thrashing the lowly Eagles by 93 points to jump to 3rd on the ladder.
We never take for granted how hard the game is and how difficult it is to get yourself in a position where you can finish top 4 and have a really good crack at it.
The Cats bagged 26 goals, and even if fit, Tom Hawkins could struggle to get back into the side.
I'm trying my best, but if I fall short, we've achieved enough, so hopefully just get back out and play.
The big forward given an official farewell by the Geelong faithful, alongside premiership defender Zach Toohey.
Oh, they're up now! Because Zach Toohey in his last game of the Carey nails it.
I don't really know what to say other than you've
given me some of the best years of my life.
The only downside for Geelong, veteran Tom Stewart was subbed out at half-time with hamstring tightness, but should be okay for the first week of finals.
Well, Melbourne star Cozzy Pickett has been slapped with a 3-match ban for this high bump, which concussed Collingwood skipper Darcy Moore in last night's 46-point win over the Demons. The incident was graded as careless, severe impact and high contact. Pickett will miss the first 3 matches of next season. And in the final round of the Sandful, big wins to Glenelg, Central and Norwood, the Redlegs securing the minor premiership. North got the job done over West and Sturt ended the Crows' finals hopes. Sturt will meet the Bulldogs in the qualifying final, while the Tigers and Eagles will battle it out in an elimination final, a doubleheader at Adelaide Oval next Sunday. To golf, and Aussie veteran Adam Scott has set a new course record to sit top of the BMW Championship leaderboard. The 44-year-old shot an impressive 9 under 63 at Castle Pines to take a 3-shot lead at the halfway mark of the second PGA Tour playoff event.
Excellent. What a shot. It's pretty elegant.
And how's this for full circle? The course is where Scott made his PGA debut some 24 years ago. Fantastic stuff. Well, Formula One star Oscar Piastri has picked up where he left off before the summer break. He posted the second fastest time in practice ahead of tomorrow night's Dutch Grand Prix. Only Britain's George Russell could top the Aussie.
Beautifully executed move there. Gasly gave him enough space and Oscar Piastri got some good practice in how to overtake into the chicane.
Daniel Ricciardo was 13th but had some fun on his return to the course where he broke his hand last year, saluting the turn where he crashed out. And finally tonight, could this be Australia's answer to Usain Bolt? 16-year-old Gout stunned the field at the Queensland State Athletics Championships, running the 100 metres in just 10.2 seconds. To give you an idea of how fast that is, that's equal to the quickest run by any Australian at the Paris Olympics. So, Will, I think we've just witnessed a star on the rise.
I love seeing 16-year-olds like that. Gold medal.
Overachievers.
Come on. All right. Thanks, Corey. Well, beautiful sunshine today, but the weather is looking a bit nasty tomorrow. Chelsea Carey has the latest forecast next.
Hello again. Well, how fantastic was the weather today? Ideal Saturday weather. Hopefully you soaked it up because a change is on the way. We'll have a look at that in just a moment. Today, plenty of sunshine and not your typical winter temperatures. We had a top of 23 here in the city. Relatively warm across the suburbs, mainly blue skies. 23 at Mawson Lakes and Glenelg, Noarlunga 21. We did have a bit of high cloud move in this afternoon. That ended up giving us quite a nice sunset. Now, for a second day, we have seen record-breaking heat up through the north of the state. Oodnadatta reaching 39.4 this afternoon, SA's hottest winter temperature ever recorded, and unseasonably warm across the south too, in the mid-20s around Murray Bridge and Hindmarsh Island. So let's have a look at what's to come. A low-pressure system is moving into the west. That's going to send a front across SA tomorrow, bringing showers, potentially gusty winds and thunderstorms. And that's going to head to the eastern states. So for Melbourne, possible storms in store tomorrow. Back home, winds intensifying here right across the state. The chance of showers and storms around Clare, Port Lincoln and further south could see gusty thunderstorms across the south. We will keep an eye out for severe thunderstorm warnings tomorrow. And strong to gale force wind warnings have been issued on SA's coastal waters, including locally with winds up to 30 knots. So across Adelaide, from around a late morning, conditions will intensify. Winds picking up and the chance of thunderstorms. Now, not huge amounts of rain expected. Really, it's the winds that are the concern tomorrow. A top of 21 for Elizabeth, 19 for Mount Barker and Glenelg. So in the city, showers tomorrow and becoming windy with that chance of a thunderstorm, a top of 20 degrees. Monday, 18 degrees, a little cooler with a couple of showers around. Tuesday is looking mostly dry, but there's a chance of a late shower, then on and off showers for much of the week. So as we head towards spring, well, it is a bit of a roller coaster.
It is, but it's warming up, Chelsea. Thank you. Finally, a look at what's on 60 Minutes tomorrow night.
Thanks, Will. Tomorrow night.
This is romance scam times a million.
Exposing the scammers.
They are brainwashing techniques.
Latest devious tricks.
You can't believe your eyes. It's like a live deepfake.
Yep. How AI is earning them billions.
We haven't seen anything like this in the world before.
As more victims get stung.
I just knew in that moment I'd been done.
From these secret scam factories. Pretty heinous and calculated.
Absolutely. But they know what they're doing.
That's tomorrow night after the block. Back to you, Will.
Right, thanks, Adam. That is 9 News for this Saturday. Hope you can join us again tomorrow night at 6. I'm Will McDonald. Have a great evening. Good night.